everyone, Larry Chen here. We're at Daytona International Raceway in Florida. This weekend, I'm racing for the first time here. I'm so excited because I've been photographing here for so many years. I've done 2 of the 24-hour races. I've done a bunch of rallycross. I've done a lot of other shooting, NASCAR, Daytona 500. I've actually done rolling shots on here when the Supra was brand new. So it's just so cool now after all these years, I finally get to race this track. And I'm racing this NC Miata, and Jake and the rest of the guys at Rapscallion Motorsports built this from the ground up. So we'll check it out. We'll go over all the little things and I'll show you what I'm racing this weekend. So I've had a couple sessions in this already. Yep. I'm just so stoked to be able to race something honestly this easy to drive. It's so balanced. It feels so good. Doesn't make the most power, but that's not the point. Yeah. Why an NC Miata?
NC Miatas, they have a really good balance to them. Miatas have always been known for having really good balance to them, close to that 50-50 mark. So it's just a popular track car to start with.
But is this something that's like special for the class? What's the deal with it in terms of racing here at WRL?
Like you said, the car, it's super easy to drive. Just about anybody can get in it, turn laps, and be pretty quick. That was the main goal when we were building it, was to make an easy car that is entry level for anybody to come in and actually get competitive. This car is one of the more competitive in GP2, and what makes it special against the rest of the class is the fact that it has a BMW 8-speed automatic in it. It's the 8 HP, and then we've got it coupled.
And that's the transmission that comes on the Supra, the A90 Supra?
Yeah, so it comes on the Supras. That's a different generation. But like any of the 3 Series BMWs, 5 Series BMWs, the diesel BMWs, they all run a certain 8 HP of some sorts.
And then what's special about this, from my understanding, you're not running a torque converter. So there's nothing in between the engine and the transmission.
So there is something in between. We call it a coupler. All it's doing is splining the crankshaft to the input shaft of the transmission. And given that we have 8 gears, we use first gear as a clutch as you would in a standard car. It can be a little bit rough shifting and stuff like that, given that we don't have the viscous coupler in it basically. But what we trade for that is fast revving, fast shifting, all that good stuff.
Yeah, and it drives like an automatic. Honestly, it drives like my Supra in terms of the shift delays, the downshifting. Yeah. It actually downshifts pretty harshly. Yeah. It does auto blimp, and it's really honestly very easy to drive versus H pattern, but it's just so interesting that this was repurposed for it. Honestly, what's interesting to me is that a lot of people have repurposed this type of transmission for drifting. Yeah. And you can still clutch kick with it because, like you said, it does have a clutch.
Yes.
And it's built in, but it really wasn't meant for that duty.
No. So that's the cool thing about Turbolatic. That's the TCU that we're running that controls everything and allows it all to work. The drifting and the drag racing guys love the Turbolatic because you get those features like clutch kick capabilities and launching out of certain gears, stuff like that.
Pretty much stock?
Yeah, so it's a Mazda Ford 2.5 liter MZR. It's a motor that you'd find in like a Ford Fusion. We sent it off to X Factor and they built it for us. We overbuild these because we're in the name of the game is endurance racing. So we overbuild them, detune them so that way they can last a whole season.
Right, because what came in this was like a
2 liter.
2 liter, okay. Yep. So then this is a 2.5 liter?
This is a 2.5 liter. So it's a 2.5 liter. It has a bit of engine goodies in it. We do balance shaft delete, so that way we get that snappy response on the RPMs. We run the Fab 9 intake. This was at least a 10% gain in horsepower versus the 1-goal intake that we were previously running. We run it on a Bosch, just a universal throttle body here. But as far as it goes, like engine-wise, it's a very simple engine. It's not dry sump, nothing like that.
And then, so does it just bolt in, or is that a custom subframe setup?
No, this is all stock on the front end of this. The engine actually just drops right in. I think what you have to do is change over the oil pan, because the 2.5 liters come in so many different things. So you have different oil pans, different timing covers. So the only like major issues is oil pan and timing cover.
And is it like a motorsport oil pan or just stock?
It's just a stock oil pan. Yeah, it's like a stock Miata oil pan.
And then, so what about the headers? Did they have to get custom made?
No, those headers, I don't believe they're Mazda Motorsports, but they are a similar brand to that. We've tried the shorties, we've tried the long tubes, and personally, I like the shorties better. It makes it easier to work on the car.
And did you guys make this bracing?
Yeah, we actually developed this strut tower brace a few years ago, and we've got it branded RMS and everything like that. This does a huge deal. We even put a master cylinder stopper on here. So when you're hitting that 90 bar of brake pressure, you're not pushing the master cylinder forward and losing some of that brake feel. So this tightens all that up and gives you a good brake feel.
That is so cool. So from my understanding, this has a different ABS system than the Mazda system.
Yes, absolutely. This has the BMW Mark 60 E5 ABS module in it. And then, so in order to make that work, you have to have BMW wheel speed sensors. But to get around that, we got with a company called Happy Cactus Garage, and they emulate all your wheel speed sensors and send it all to it so that it works happy and has great ABS.
Did this come as a street vehicle, or was it a bare chassis when you guys started?
I believe it was a street vehicle that Doug ended up turning into a track toy, and over time it just kept snowballing.
Right, and now it's this. This is so cool.
It's an RP now. It's not even a Mazda. That's what we go by, at least.
What do you call it?
RP, Rapscallion Performance.
Ah, that's what this is.
Yeah.
Rapscallion. Okay, so then any other goodies? Is the cooling modified?
Yeah. So the cooling package is a really big deal in this. We live in Texas. It gets ridiculously hot out there, so we're always trying to fight temps. So we went with the PWR cooling package. So we have a big old radiator, and then we've got a transmission and an oil cooler in front of it.
And is it angled for more room, or like what's the reason?
So that's the stock angle of the NC. I'm not sure why they did it. I would assume it's for room, but yeah, this kit is supposed to be bolt into an NC Miata.
And then this opening, I'm kind of surprised that this is enough for it to cool all of this stuff and go through all this heat exchangers too.
Yeah, and we're actually talking about closing it up some and making it more square, because on the straights we are losing temperature. So if we can block this off some, we could get more aero and possibly more mile per hour on the straights. That's why you see all this tape, is we're trying to chase mile per hour right now.
And that's even with that shield, right? I'm assuming that's to prevent like debris and rocks and stuff to...
Yeah, so that honeycomb, it's to prevent blockages in the radiator, and they also advertise it that it creates velocity and actually creates more velocity into the cooling package to help cool it.
So what is this front end? Is this like a custom?
Yeah, so this is a custom setup. We grab sheets of ABS and we just put a template on it and cut it out. And the main reason for it is for cooling. So the bigger, flatter surface you have in the front, the better it will do at cooling.
What is this, a brake duct?
Yeah, so these are our brake ducts. We've noticed that the brakes have been getting too cold too fast, causing more cracks in the rotors. So we decided, since we're tracing mile per hour, we might as well close those up as well.
And then you've taped all the seams to chase mile.
I've taped as many seams as I could.
First time driving this racetrack, kind of hair-raising, to be honest with you, on the bank. I didn't understand how many G's would push me down.
Yeah.
As I'm going around, my highest mile an hour today was 129.
Yes.
Okay, and that was from a little bit of drafting. If we had a really good draft, I think it's capable of 132, 133.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but it's just amazing to me how much you get pushed into your seat.
Yeah.
Even in something that only doesn't have that much power, how much does
it makes 183 horsepower.
That's to the wheels.
To the wheels.
Okay, so then to the crank, it's like What,
210-ish maybe.
You guys are running some Enkis?
Yeah, we run the RPF ones. They're very cost effective, they're pretty strong, and they look good. And then for the brake system on the fronts, we actually have a new brake system that only we have from what I understand. It's an Alcon. And it's direct bolt-on onto the NCs. It's one of the biggest braking systems that you can just bolt onto the NC.
This thing stops. Like, it's amazing to me how well this stops. And it's very gradual and you can modulate very easily. I was very surprised at how much this thing can stop on a dime.
Yeah, and the modulation used to not be there. With the stock NC master cylinder, it used to be very touchy on the brakes, but I did a lot of research and found that an Infiniti G35 master cylinder bolts right in, and it gives you a way sportier brake feel.
That's what this has right now?
Yep. Yeah.
It's amazing to me that the WRL rules are really open.
Yeah, so the biggest thing is to get into your class, it's power to weight. So it's all based on power to weight here. So with your like GTOs, they're really heavy, they get a lot of power. So that's why they're doing 150 down the main straight. Now the GTUs, they're 1,300 pounds. They make the same amount of horsepower as this, but they are turning laps faster than us. And they've got a lot more aero.
Tire setup, 275 squared. This is based on the class. You have to run these street tires.
Yeah, we have to run the Continental. These are the extreme contact forces. And then for the rain tires, we have to run the Contact Sport 02s.
So moving on to the back, carbon fiber hardtop. That's kind of like an optional thing. Right?
Yeah, most people go with the fiberglass just because it's a lot cheaper. The price of hardtops on NCs is ridiculous. You know, since we're chasing weight, you know, we can actually drop quite a bit of weight out of this and still be in class. But the most we can get is that.
And then the fueling, like a dry brake setup here?
Yeah, so it's a redhead dry brake setup. We do about a gallon, just about a second. And then it's a 16-gallon fuel cell. And if we go in here, you can see we actually modify the stock fuel tank. But we have big old hoses, holds extra capacity for one. And then we have a rollover valve. This is if the car rolls over, it won't start dumping gas everywhere. It's also a vent because these cars get super hot. The fuel tank's pressurized. They do all kinds of stuff you don't want them to do, so you got to vent all the fumes. And then we run a radium pot, and it has 2 fuel pumps in it, 1 main pump, 1 backup pump. And then on the center console, there's a backup pump switch. So that way, if things go wrong, you can still get places.
What's that box right there?
This is a fuse box, relay box for all the rear electronics, stuff like that.
Got it. Rain light.
Yeah, so recently WRL made it into the rules that we have to run a rain light, which was a good call because the past 6 races we've been in rain, so.
Mounted onto the chassis?
Yes, so that was done in-house. It was about a foot shorter for a while. We noticed that we couldn't open the trunk. It was getting hard. You know, it takes a lot to take off a wing and when you're doing it in a hurry. So we raised it up, tried to get it in the Airstream a little bit better and make it perform a little bit better.
Pretty simple bolt-on fenders just to be able to fit those 275s all the way around. We got the antenna here. I can hear you pretty clearly throughout the whole track.
Good. Yeah, I could hear you guys all the way up into NASCAR Turn 3.
I mean, this is a bowl, but it's crazy how big this track is. It's really...
I didn't realize it either, because usually we're turning 1.5 minute lap times. These guys are doing almost 2.5 minute lap times right now, so it's weird for me too.
This was actually my request to run a cool suit system, just because I overheat pretty easily. It's just so hot over here.
It's hot here.
It's gonna be a very fun but difficult weekend. We're racing 14 hours.
14 hours, 7 to 9.
Long race. Bunch of stuff here. So it's running on a Haltech.
Yeah, so we run Haltech 1500s on all of our cars. It's just really great in terms of tuning. I'm sure you heard it when the engine got quite warm and we started it up, it had a big old lope to it. That's a Haltech thing, it's rotational idle. It pulls heat out of the motor. So we get things like that, pit limiter, all that good stuff out of the Haltech. So we love the Haltech.
You could use it for a street vehicle,
Yes.
but for a full-on race car, it's like pretty low lift also. What's that ECU?
That's the Turbolatic. That's the transmission control unit right there. That's what a lot of the drifters and drag racers are going to be having in their cars that have 8 HPs in them. So they really opened up the world to being able to swap an 8 HP into anything.
This is it's actually really clean for it not having a dash. A lot of times when you remove a dash, it could get a little messy. But yeah, you guys clean it up quite a bit. What is that ECU here?
ECU Masters, it's a PDM, it's a power distribution module. So that powers like our ABS. It can power quite a few different things. And the good news about that is we get to data log what power is being taken up by certain things, so we can catch stuff failing early.
What is that?
Yeah, so this is our solenoid. This is what our kill switch runs off of. So we just send a request, basically a jolt of power through the kill switch, and it flips a pole in here and then provides power to the whole vehicle.
And then you have an AIM Smarty Cam set up.
Yep, AIM Smarty Cam. It's required in almost every racing sanction that you go to. A lot of stuff can happen on the track, so as many angles as you can get, the better outcome you can get.
This also is set up for live streaming here?
Yes, so this weekend, the folks over at Sentinel are going to be installing a Sentinel box, and I don't know if you watched the WRL Coda with Adam LZ and TJ Hunt and Nate Hamilton, but they had the Sentinel set up in here, and that allows us to put live streaming into any race car, which is awesome for folks who want their family to watch and they're overseas or whatever.
This turns on the power, and then ignition, flip the cover, now radio's on. What is that pump sound?
So you'll hear 2 pumps on ignition. You'll hear our fuel pump in the pot, and then you'll hear our diff pump. So like I said, we're in Texas, it gets really hot. The diff, before the diff pump, would get astronomical temperatures. So adding a diff pump and a cooler to the back, it just increases our life on the fluid tenfold.
This is super cool. This displays the gear you're in very, very clearly, which is very useful, especially for me just kind of learning the car right away. You know,
just having it in your proof.
Yeah, I don't want to have to count gears. So here's all of the controls that I had to learn all today. We have the cool suit control here. This is the fire suppression, backup fuel pump, wipers on and off. This goes fast or slow for the wipers. This is the rain light, ignition, power. This is a little squeegee in case it rains and it gets fogged up in here, in case you need to squeegee the windshield. This wheel is interesting. I've never raced with a wheel like this. Who actually makes this wheel?
This is an AIM SW4. It is a steering wheel and dash combined. It, you know, without the dash being in here, it kind of just felt like it needed to be a GT4 type of feel. So Doug wanted to have this in there super bad because he didn't want the dash in here. And what came about it is a really awesome looking interior.
Dude, it is so cool. Okay, so then there's the button for pit. You could start, stop the motor. I was actually worried when I saw that start, stop on there. I was like, oh, what if you accidentally stop the engine when you're just fumbling around the steering wheel, especially since it's so close to pit? Well, there's something built into it where you have to hit it like 10 times almost to turn off the engine.
We call it panic mode.
Right. Push to talk up to the top left. Been using that all day. Lights, you could pretty much change all the settings that you need on here in terms of like throttle mapping.
So yeah, like throttle mapping, we can go from, you've heard of a pedal commander, and it just brings your throttle like 1-to-1 feeling, doesn't give you that dead feeling. So we kind of put something like that in there too. You turn the function knob, and then the horn and the light button are plus and minus. So you can raise the value of the TPS map, or you can lower the value, and that will dumb down the throttle or give you a better response.
That's basically like a dummy traction control.
Yeah, dummy traction control, and it just helps slow down your inputs, especially when you're racing and in the midst of battling and stuff like that. sometimes you could be doing things faster than you're wanting to do them, and that could help with that. Our biggest reason for doing it is for rain. Having it in the rain helps deliver the power better, so that way you're not just sliding out the rear end.
So this is going to be a dumb question, but do you think it would have been a lot easier just to buy a factory race car and race in this series?
What's the fun in that? Absolutely, but at the same time, you don't see one of these rolling off a showroom floor every day.
I think it's just so cool. So still Mazda motor, bigger literage. You have a ZF transmission, automatic, makes it easy for people just to jump in and race. I don't mind having an H pattern. I think it's fun, but this is also a lot faster.
Yeah, and not only that, but we're doing hour and a half stints for our drivers. So can you imagine rowing gears for an hour and a half?
I've done it, and it's very taxing. You want to minimize as much as possible, especially when you're fighting G's, fighting traffic. Even though I've only had a couple laps in this so far, man, it feels so good.
Yeah.
Feels so good, so much fun to drive. Cannot wait for the race. This is just the test day Thursday before the race. I'm just getting fitted to the car, shaking it down, and seeing what it's about. And I'm just so happy that I came early for this. Yeah, so cool. So what fuel are we running in this?
So actually we run Sunoco 98. It's a really, really good fuel for us. It gives us a safety rein on our tuning and everything like that. It gives us just that tad extra horsepower.
Yeah, because some of the other cars, like especially the BMWs that we're going to be racing up against, they make more power and they have better straight line speed, but our goal is to save fuel, save on pit stops, and catch them in the corners.
Yep. So yeah, that's another thing about the NCs is we won't ever beat people in the straights, but when it comes to braking and cornering, we're right there with everybody, if not ahead of everybody.
Well, it's cool for me because I remember when the NC was launched, and I was very lucky to be able to drive them very early on. I never would have thought after all these years I'd race one at Daytona. Not only that, just a full Sunoco liveried one. That is so cool. And I just want to point out the fact that we're at the Sunoco station in the middle of the track. It's just really surreal. It's a pinch me, I must be dreaming moment. For me, I just have to appreciate the patience that you're giving me because I am still learning and there's just so much. It's a lot to take on in one day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one weekend. But I feel like by the end of the weekend, I feel like I should be pretty proficient at driving this.
Yeah.
I already feel comfortable on track, but I'm just gonna work on those different places where I feel like I can make up time.
Biggest goal is consistency. Find your lap, run it.
Yeah, because over here at WRL, the Racing Series World Racing League,
yes,
they really penalize contact and just making dumb mistakes.
Yeah.
They'll put you back. If you're speeding when you're not supposed to, or you're passing under yellow, or you're just doing things that are unsafe, then they'll penalize you laps after laps after laps.
So if we come into the pit lanes a little bit too early, we could be taking a lap or 2 laps or even disqualified. Speeding down pit lane, that's a lap. Any contact, that's a lap. It goes on and on and on. Drivers disregarding flags, that's a lap. Or the driver gets pulled. The biggest thing about racing is being safe and having fun. My biggest thing is making sure you guys have fun.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm already having fun.
Great.
And we'll have a lot more fun. So thank you guys for watching. See you guys in the next video.